Hey everyone, I'm Gloria S, Crump, the Queen of Real Estate with the Coastal Leaders Realty Group. Thank you for joining this week's Teen Crumpets. Today I have Taylor Moss with Goosehead Insurance. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So, give us a little history of Goosehead and just how long you've been in the business. And
Goosehead is a independent brokerage. We're actually the largest brokerage in the United States.
Oh wow.
Most haven't heard of it. It's more people are like, what is Goosehead? But that's because we don't do the big time marketing stuff like most of your captive carriers are going to do. We more so market ourselves to you guys and
on more of a personal level.
Yes,
industry tailored specific to like the market industry.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And what I can do to help your clients and help your process run more smoothly. So that's the basis of us. We're based in Texas. Our corporate office is, and the office that I work for is a franchise in Mobile.
Well, that's good that it's out of Texas. They understand the coastal market.
Yeah.
So
Yes, and it's great. Our corporate channel is amazing, and we still get that corporate feel with a small town office because I'm with the franchise.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been doing this?
I have been in insurance for about 2.5, 3 years, but I've been with Goosehead for about 6 months.
That's awesome. So you got to experience right after Sally.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it was with me when I started selling. I was like right at a hurricane, so you learn a lot in a very short amount of time.
Definitely.
And so it's actually really beneficial to you and to your clients that you've actually came in when you did, so you can see and how to, hopefully we won't have to worry about that in the near future. But it's a good learning experience.
Yes.
And so what areas do you cover? So since it is a franchise.
So I'm licensed in Alabama and Mississippi.
Okay.
So anywhere in either of those states.
Well, that's awesome. And so do you see mainly your business Baldwin, like the coastal market, or do you obviously cover the whole state?
Right. For the most part, right in this area is where I'm writing the most. I get a few from lenders up in North Alabama, and then I don't do a whole lot in Mississippi. I'll get a few come in, but I market way more heavy over here.
For sure. Well, the good thing is our clientele, we have a lot of clients out of Mississippi, so the good thing is you actually could help them with their personal properties there if it does happen. So
Absolutely.
That's really good. And now how do you determine, first of all, properties? Obviously, y'all do condos as well as single family. Do y'all do commercial?
Yes, I'm not personally licensed to do the commercial stuff or appointed with those carriers, but my manager is, and she does the commercial things. But in terms of
residential, like condo. Okay.
In terms of, we do pretty much everything under the sun except health insurance. That's what we don't do. But and to fit a client with a carrier, we have so many different options. We have about 40 plus insurance carriers.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Which makes it great, and we're able to give them choice,
beyond
and
see which one's most competitive. And because I know we see a lot of times we'll get quotes back in, and they might quote them pretty high just because they're like thinking, oh gosh, we do not want to do anything on the beach. If they're willing to go with us, this is the price. So that's good that y'all have 40 plus carriers to choose from. And so now everyone thinks like properties are in a flood zone or not in a flood zone. There's actually, every property is in a flood zone.
Every flood zone is flood zone.
Yeah, exactly.
People think when they're in X that it's not.
But that is just considered another flood zone. It's the least minimum.
The lowest risk.
The lowest risk. Okay, that's the perfect term.
20% of flood insurance claims come from the X flood zone. 20%
comes from. So that helps me because when I tell clients, I say, just because you're in flood zone X, it's still
does
safe.
Not mean they shouldn't carry.
It's still a safe option to buy flood insurance. You don't have to, but it is. And what, on average, how much do you see those costing, those policies?
It's different for every property. So, I would say on average 500 around there. But again, that could be
vary. We're not going to hold you to
it. That could be way different.
But on average, you see about 500. So that's really a small amount to pay that somebody could. And you just said 20%.
Yeah. And then floods defined by any rising water. I mean, it could be from the neighbor's swimming pool. It could be.
Well, after we had a 500-year flood several years ago down here, and there were homes, the drainage systems couldn't, were not equipped to handle that rainfall in that short amount of time, and there were houses that flooded and from the homeowners associations not keeping even the drainage systems and the retention ponds cleared, and thankfully my clients did have, you know, flood insurance policy. But there were so many homes that didn't.
Yeah,
so.
It's a good thing to have in place, no matter whether you're in X or A.
Yeah. So for the flood zones, obviously we talked about X, and then we have other flood zones too. So which ones are the highest risk?
Yeah, your highest risk flood zones are going to be the ones that begin with A or V.
Okay.
And that's just statistically where it's more common for it to happen.
And so, and then how much, like with FEMA, their max coverage is for the dwelling.
For the dwelling is $250,000.
Okay, $250,000. Now, if somebody wanted, and their home dwelling is, you know, they feel it's like $400,000. There are options for them to be able to do supplemental. Or
we actually have access to a bunch of private flood insurance carriers.
Oh, that's great.
So you're able to have more choice with that. Yeah, for sure.
And then too, so for instance, like kind of go back, mortgage companies, you know, with the dwelling for the homeowners, let's just say it's $300,000, and then the dwelling for the FEMA, you know, max is at $250,000. Do you see a lot of mortgage companies coming back saying, "Hey, we've got to have an additional $50,000"? I mean, I know it depends on the mortgage company and their specific, but do you see that happening a lot?
Most of the time, in my experience, they're good with the FEMA limits. Yes, and a lot of times too, if your home is $300,000 and the FEMA will go up to $250,000. I mean, it's lower chance that a flood's going to take out the whole entire home, so it's normally a safe spot to be in. But typically, the mortgage company is good with that and will accept that. If not, again,
the good thing is y'all have plenty of choices on the flood for sure. So that is great. And now, when someone does want, let's say they have damage to their property, just explain a little bit of the claim process. I know y'all aren't in it throughout, but just the claim process for somebody that has never done one before.
So I'm not a licensed claim adjuster, so I can't really advise on what happens after that. But to start it, if the client believes they have damage that, you know, they need to file a claim for, they normally call me. And what I can do is kind of go over, hey, this is what your deductible is, talk them through a little bit of that stuff. But from there, we have a large claims team. They're specialists in it, and that's kind of when I pass the torch on. And they're gonna help you, connect you with the carrier to file the claim. Be your right-hand man for all that stuff.
And so let's just say the home is like $300,000, the dwelling. A lot of people don't realize with the deductibles, like the percentage. Sometimes people think that it's instead of the dwelling amount, they think, say the damage is $10,000, and then they see that 2% or 3%, and then they get confused. Explain that and how that's adjusted. I mean, the calculated.
Yeah. So your deductible is always going to be if it says 2% or 5%, always of that coverage A number. And I've had that too before when I'm presenting a quote that I've done and they're confused where that exactly comes from. It is always your coverage A amount, and that is no matter what the damage is. If you want to use your insurance, that's what you have to meet first.
So, like for instance, if it's $300,000 with a 2%, the deductible is $6,000, and that's wind and hail. Now, if it's if other perils, that's different. So
it can be $1,000, $2,500.
And so if the damage was $10,000, let's just say it's the wind and hail and it's $6,000 deductible, but the damage was $10,000. Typically, they would get a check for $4,000. Is that correct?
Depending on how the claim pays out. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And so once after they finish submitting the claim, then it goes over to y'all's process, the claim adjustance process. So what are some things that set y'all apart from the other insurance companies?
Yeah.
down here?
And I love this question because I love Goosehead. I think it's amazing. I think that there's so many processes in place that makes us different, and one of those things is our technology and how we are able to process all the information from the client and able to shop all these carriers in a timely manner is amazing. And it we have this tool called the digital agent, and it's
Digital agent?
Yes. And what it is, the client can, I have it on QR codes, they can click a link that I send to them, and basically they fill out their name, date of birth, email, their basic information, and then some characteristics of the home, and if they want, they can do car insurance as well to bundle it, and then within 5 minutes they get a preliminary quote, and from there it's sent to me, and I can kind of go through and customize it and personalize it for them, and then
that is nice.
we get a quote back quick. But
that's actually good for realtors to be able to.
It is, and that's, I share a lot with them as well. To if you need just an estimate.
Well, I think that is great, because a lot of times we're looking at property, and the way people have their insurance listed with it already might be a bundle, and so obviously a lot lower, and then we're looking at property, we're like, well, how much would a new policy, like, we know what you pay, but how much would a new policy? So that's actually really good for even buyers in the market, or really just actually people, like, every year, we tell people shop around, make sure you're getting the best quote possible, and that sounds like it's a super easy process for pretty much everybody.
Right, it is.
I mean, not
it
even someone buying a new home, but just
amazing.
even shopping to see, hey, could this be a better policy out there for me?
Yeah, and from there, when I get their information over, I always pick up the phone and call the client and talk to them, get any more information that I need, because it's so important to not only find the best needs for the property, but them as well, because it that can differ due to people's personal circumstances.
For sure, and they might not even think about bundling with their car.
And it's a great thing, and I have many carriers that we can put them all together under one. If we do the home somewhere and car somewhere, we can still do a discount for having it in the agency. So it's really awesome, and
especially that a house somewhere else, they can put their primary house somewhere. That's actually really good.
Yeah, and that's amazing too. With I always say I try to save them time, because everybody does want to shop their insurance around and see what the best price is, but that's what I'm doing for them, because I have all these different carriers, and I'm saying, okay, when we run it through our digital agent, it's running it through pretty much all of those carriers, unless I need to go in and do one manually, and it's bringing me back, hey, these are the top 5 best ones, and then from there is where we say,
choose.
well, that's not great. Underwriting guideline isn't going to match there. Let's go to this one and kind of fix it.
That's awesome. Well, that's really good to know. We'll be getting that. Well, neat. Well, we're going to have her contact information at the end of the video, and then that way they can contact you. Hopefully they will get the digital agent.
Yes, for sure.
And then they can be shopping around.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us and teaching us some information, and hopefully y'all found it helpful too, and we appreciate you watching.
Absolutely. Thanks.